Welcome to Sharing the Light, the Sunshine Cathedral's talk show webcast where we discuss theological, ethical, spiritual, and social issues with the cathedral's pastoral staff. Sunshine Cathedral is a metropolitan community church affiliated with the Center for Progressive Christianity. We're located in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Now, we hope you will enjoy this episode of Sharing the Light. Hello, I'm Reverend Robert Griffin, and welcome to the Sunshine Cathedral Sharing the Light Internet Ministry Program. Today, we, of course, have our senior pastor with us, the Reverend Dr. Durrell Watkins, and our topic for today we're looking at is kind of an age-old one to me. We've heard quite often, but we're going to be taking a look at hate the sin, but love the sinner. So, as we launch into this one, Pastor, how do we begin to hate the sin and love the sinner?
Well, first of all, I think we just want to do some truth-telling and call that out for the BS that it is. That you can't say that I love you, but I'm judging you to be a sinner. Mm-hmm. Okay, if that's love, then don't love me. I mean, how does that benefit me, that sort of love? That you've already prejudged, you've already made a prejudgment. And now how you can feel better about sort of dismissing me or dehumanizing me or condemning me is by saying, well, it's only this part of you or this thing about you that I'm hating. Really, I love you. Well, okay, that's a rationalization, and if that helps you, that's fine. But it doesn't help me. It doesn't feel loving. It's not about kindness. It's not about compassion. It's not even about trying to learn anything. You've made a judgment, and your judgment is as hurtful, whether or not you say, but really I love the sinner. You've made a judgment, you've made a condemnation, and you've broken down any sort of possibility of dialogue or reconciliation between us when you do that. So I think that first of all, I hope that those of us who have been victimized by that statement never use it. Because it is disingenuous. It is disingenuous to say, well, we hate the sin, but we love the sinner. Because you're still calling the person an unkind name, really. And so it's just it's a phrase that I think is meant to sort of give comfort to the bully, but it doesn't really do anything useful or helpful to those who are being bullied by it. And the phrase, and phase 2 of this truth-telling, we never say, hate the sin but love the sinner when we're talking about people who are cheap. Mm-hmm. People who don't give money to charities or to their religious congregation or to people in need. Well, you cheap person, but that's okay, we love you, but we hate your cheapness. It's never about that, is it? Or the person who is rough with their kids, screaming at their kids and shaming their kids and knocking their kids around. Well, it's never, well, we hate that you're an abusive sort of person, but we love you. It's never that, is it? The hate the sin but love the sinner is always a thinly veiled homophobic attack, saying we don't like gay people, we don't like what gay people are, we don't like same-gender love, we don't like same-gender attraction, we don't like the gay and lesbian subculture, we don't like gays and lesbians. It's a homophobic attack, and that's really the only time you ever hear that. Hate the sin, but love the sinner. It's a way of saying we get to dislike gay people and then give ourselves a break for disliking them by saying, well, we're just hating the sin, not the sinner. It's just disingenuous, and I hope that those of us who've heard it are at least smart enough not to be fooled by it.
I guess that's an awareness thing that people grow into with time as they deconstruct it and finding themselves in places that are positive and progressive and practical to begin to deconstruct that particular statement. Now, we've often heard this, or I've often heard this statement in I grew up Baptist, so I heard it in the Baptist church, and I hear it often in conservative movements. But is a part of this also a phase of the people use this statement as also a way of raising money to defeat and defend their position to religious homophobia? And I'm thinking specifically in places like the Caribbean, especially Jamaica, how organizations use this as a means of raising money to combat the quote homosexual agenda.
Sure. And see, it's just love. We're preaching against them, but it's about love.
Right.
And of course, the preacher has to make a living. So as you give money, it's all for love,
right.
And or whatever. But there's nothing loving about condemning people. There's nothing loving about shaming people. It's not about love. It's about people's discomfort with diversity. It's about people's discomfort with human sexuality, and this is sort of my response to that: hate the sin, but love the sinner. I make mistakes. Sin means to miss the mark, and there have been times that I just didn't get it, that I tried and failed. There have been times that I even failed to try, but none of that has anything to do with who I love or what I find attractive in another person. That is not a sin, has never been a sin. That I am sort of hardwired to be attracted to other men, that the person that I love happens to be a man, and that's the way I've lived my entire life and will live the rest of my life. Nothing is sinful or disordered about that. When it comes to that, I'm hitting the mark. I'm hitting the bullseye. I'm telling the truth. I'm living my truth, and I am living in love. So there's nothing sinful or disordered about that. So when you say hate the sin but love the sinner, you can't possibly be talking about my loving mutual adult relationship, because you'll never convince me that that is a sin. Other things, I could use some improvement on in my life, but that's none of your business either. So frankly, so I just don't buy the hate the sin and love the sinner, and I just really hope that anyone who's had that used against them just won't buy it either.
Great, and we're going to end on that positive note right there, and we want to thank you for joining us here on Sharing the Light as we have been talking about hate the sin and love the sinner. Thank you for joining us for another great episode of Sharing the Light. Tell your friends about this online ministry, and when you're in Southeast Florida, make sure you worship with us on a Sunday at the 9 a.m., the 10:30 a.m., or the 6 p.m. service. And now for a final word from our senior pastor, the Reverend Dr. Durrell Watkins.
Email me at durrell@sunshinecathedral.net if you have a religious question or if you'd like to subscribe to our daily devotional magazine, Spirit and Truth. We'll send it anywhere in the United States for an annual donation of any size. You can also email us prayer requests, or you can make donations on our website, www.sunshinecathedral.org. You'll also want to check out our great performing arts series, religious education classes, conferences, and other exciting activities. For now, we wish you many blessings on your spiritual journey.